Now we'll go back to the story downtown, the bomb scare, not a threat, I guess, but a scare. And we have Jeff Lanza here joining us. Thanks for coming, Jeff.
Yeah, you bet, sure.
We've got a little bit of different twist on this now that the man apparently walked in and said, am I on a terrorist watch list as opposed to I am a terrorist? Does that change your take on the situation at all?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, if he comes in and says he's a terrorist, then, you know, that's a pretty serious situation. Now he's just asking the question, is he on a watch list? So
does that happen a lot?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, people who think they might be on a watch list, people who think that they're under investigation, often come into law enforcement facilities, for example, the FBI, say, hey, I want to know if am I being watched, am I being looked at, am I on a watch list? We see that happen from time to time over the years.
Now, these people who, not to make it a lower level issue, but are these people who have conspiracy theories, or the people who are traveling and been pulled aside? And I know you hear stories of children being on the no-fly list or something like that. What does this tend to be?
Well, when you got somebody that reacts that way, it's probably a little bit of both. They're probably concerned about, you know, am I on this list and why am I on this list? But also it could be a conspiracy type of paranoid mentality in their brain. I don't know if that's what's going on with this particular person, but sometimes you see that as well. And there's no indication that anyone's on a list. They're thinking that they are. We don't know what's going on with this guy. I think more investigation needs to be done.
Is that normal protocol that if someone comes in and asks you if they're on a list that you go out to their car with a bomb-sniffing dog?
No, not at all. Unless there's some indication that you know, there's something in their car, and I don't know if he said anything else or what. He may have given them some indication that he had something out there. I don't know, but no, that would not be the normal protocol just to start doing that right away. However, at the federal building, they do have that capability right there, I believe, because it is a federal building and a target. So maybe they did do that preemptively.
Okay, well, we just got word that there have been no explosives found in the car, which is obviously good news. Right. So could this just be a big misunderstanding?
I don't know. I don't know what he said. I don't know how they reacted. It's really difficult to say. Now, we've heard different reports on what he said when he came in there now. Once they figure out what he said, then we can determine if it was a misunderstanding or whether they acted appropriately at that time.
Now, we know you're still very well connected with law enforcement, Homeland Security, all the different factors that make up this. What kind of week has it been for law enforcement around the country, and especially here in Kansas City, watching the anniversary of September 11th and then watching what's been going on around the world?
Well, September 11th anniversary is always an important day, you know, because people that are involved in terrorism tend to have put a level of importance on anniversaries, so you always, you know, have your guard up that day, extra specially vigilant. So you had that going on this week, and then we had the events in the Middle East going on this week, and because of a ridiculous YouTube video, and then you have, of course, with the events today, the threats at the schools, call-in threats, and now you have a shooting out at Kauffman Stadium, unrelated to anything else. It was just a crazy week.
Well, tell us what you think your friends and colleagues at the FBI are kind of going throughout the country and the world this week. It must be a very difficult week for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, this is what they signed up for. I mean, this is what we do, and you're just glad nothing has turned into a very serious incident, at least inside this country. You know, when you get those threats, you always wonder, you know, you got to take them seriously. Which one is going to actually be a real situation? And when you don't have explosives in the car, everybody's relieved. You know, but of course you take these things seriously, and that's what you sign up for. This is what the job is all about.
Well, and all these bomb threats at the schools, do those seem sort of like unbalanced copycat type people who hear something happening and just
they did to me, because it's so easy to do something like that, and you know that people just react to things they see in the news, and it doesn't take much to make a phone call like that. So yeah, that had all the imprints or signature of a copycat. Both of those.
We've watched this unfold today. It was a very quick reaction. The law enforcement was very quick on the scene. When this is all done, they sort of debrief what happened today. It looks like, you know, they train for this all year long, but this was it looks like a really good opportunity to test their skills, and it looks like they did a very good job.
Oh, absolutely, and they did. What I saw unfold on the news, they did an excellent job, and it is a good test, and they practice for things like this all the time. I mean, they're out there with that robot all the time, out at the stadium when there's an off day, and they're practicing doing these things, and this is the job that they do, and they do it very well, and it looks like they did that today.
Well, about the car, and Mark pointed out that sometimes you can have fertilizer for your garden on your car, and could that be maybe what trigger that dog's reaction?
There's a lot of things that could have thrown that dog off. Dogs do a great job at sniffing out explosives, but they're going to find things that there's a lot of false positives. So yeah, fertilizer, gunpowder residue. If that guy had a previous owner of that car had a rifle in the car and there was gunpowder in there, that may have caused the positive hit on that. So yeah, anything could cause that.
Yeah, I think I actually have been in the airport before, and when it's flying internationally, when they check it and they found something on the bottom of my shoe actually, and they did lots more tests after that.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, yeah.
I've had family members who have worked at their garden the day before and had fertilizer on their feet or something, and walked through security and their shoes, tested.
This is the world we live in.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. We've got a statement just in from the FBI, which we can clarify, basically wrapping up a good deal of what's happened here. But it was said that the person who walked in, they're just clarifying that the person was detained, is being questioned. There is no public safety concern downtown. They determined no personnel inside the federal building were in harm's way, and that the individual walked in to clarify, as we learned, that he was not under investigation by any federal agency. He did not make any threat of a bomb or explosive device being contained in his vehicle. It says federal law prohibits the FBI from discussing whether a person may or may not be included on national security-related lists. Local police and FBI agents acted with an abundance of caution, responding appropriately with the initial limited information they had based on the witness accounts of what happened. And it again goes on to say that the police K-9 did sniff the person's car, alerted authorities to a possible explosive device, but on closer look, everything is okay, and no public safety threat is in place at this point. So that's a good way to wrap it up, right?
Well, yeah. In my days of reporting here in Kansas City, I've asked Mr. Lanza many times to give me some information which he could not answer. Is this basically, do you think it was all handled the way you would have liked to have seen it handled?
Absolutely. I think they handled it correctly. The only thing that confuses me a little bit is where they got the information about the guy making the threat. I mean, that's what kind of set this whole, the media response into play here, the wheels in motion for that. If that had not come out, I don't think we would have had this kind of coverage on it. If he just said what he said and they did the drug sniffing without the threat, I think this would have been played down just a little bit.
Yeah, we do as a news organization try not to report these because we could be on the air all day long if people like phoning in things. Exactly. But when you see what happened in Austin today and Valparaiso, Indiana, and as well as North Dakota, we try to stay away from these phone-in threats, and we've seen them here locally at shopping centers and stuff like that, because you don't want people copycatting and sitting at home laughing at disruptions all day long. But but you said this was sort of this perfect storm with all the factors leading it to believe that there really was something going on downtown.
Yeah, and generally what happens is what the original information that comes out, not just from the media, but from reports at the scene, people, if you interview 5 witnesses in a case, you're going to get 5 different stories. And so you really have to figure out what happened before you can make an official statement. It sounds like they did, and that's what came out now.
Okay.
All right. Jeff Lanza, always good to see you. Thanks for your
so glad it turned out the way it did.
And me too. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Okay, that's the good news there, that the situation downtown, hopefully folks will be allowed in soon to get their car keys and be able to make their way to their vehicles and begin their weekend that's been disrupted for about 5 hours now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, not a whole lot of work done on this Friday afternoon, and what a disruptive day. And I know a lot of people have been worried about family members, and I was actually in a meeting and said there's this threat downtown at the federal courthouse, and someone jumped up and ran, said my mom works there. So it's been quite a tense day for a lot of people around Kansas City.
Yeah, I know that there's kids too. That's always a big thing. There is a daycare center in the federal building downtown, and that was a good thing to know that when you talk to your kids, I still have young kids, as you do too, and when you hear them come home, and when we were growing up, we had fire drills, maybe a tornado drill, and now they have these homeland security drills, and they practice for terrorism, things like that. That's important. It is the world we live in, as Jeff said, but it's important to know that when they do practice for these things, that they do work. And I think the good thing today was that people were patient and understanding.
Well, and hopefully they would be, given all this we've all been through as a country and a community over the past. Gosh, well, when you really think about it, this would seem more fearful like the Oklahoma City bombing type situation, as you mentioned, a daycare in there. And I guess at this point you have to take all precautions. But it'll be interesting to see exactly how this turned out, because as Jeff said, it's really not normal protocol if someone to come in and just merely question, am I on this list? Or maybe it was someone who couldn't get on a plane and they want to know why, to go ask the FBI. But then having the dog go out to sniff the car, and then of course finding that hit that set all of this into motion. These are questions that we're still going to be asking, and it's going to be interesting to find out what those answers are.